I got a Mustang back here. Thinks he wants some of the Challenger. You see him in the rear view. I don't think he's keeping up. In this video, I talk about open diff and limited slip differential. I also claim in the video that an open diff only has one axle shaft. I also let it known in the video that I don't know absolutely everything about cars. I know a fair amount. I don't know everything. I've since been informed that an open diff can have two axle shafts, but use one to power one wheel forward and use the other one to power the other wheel backwards, and still only spin one wheel doing a burnout. The emphasis of the video is just to let it known and explain that these cars do in fact spin both tires. They do power both wheels, and the picture is the proof in the video. Hello everyone, Mopar.84 here, and I know it's been quite a while since I've had a video up. We have really long winters here, and I had some time before winter to do some stuff, and I just didn't get around to doing any more mods or doing really much more with the car before winter, and that's why I didn't add any more videos. And then, you know, the long winter, I drive the car to work, but there's not really too much to do video on, and it's dirty, and it's got that, you know, ice and, you know, snow and everything all over it. So that's why I haven't been posting videos. Long winter, and now that winter's kind of breaking a little bit, we're actually getting some little bit nicer weather. I'll be starting to do more videos, and I just wanted to say, you know, I didn't forget about you. I'm back. You know, it's just the winter. I didn't have really much to do videos on, and I thank you to everybody that's subscribed and stayed subscribed and stuck with me, and there'll be a lot more videos to come. I have a lot of videos planned for this year, and with that, you know, with this video, I want to talk a little bit about the limited slip or open differential, or what exactly do we have in our cars in 2015 and up. Is it a limited slip? Is it an open diff? Or is it more like a limited slip? Or is it more like an open diff? And, you know, a traditional open diff, what I would call an open differential, has one axle shaft going to one wheel and one wheel only. And so it will only spin one wheel. That's my thought of when somebody says it's an open differential. Hence the other side has no axle shaft and it's just open, hence the word open diff. That's what a traditional open differential is to me, and that's not what's in these cars. In these cars you have an axle shaft going to both wheels, and as I will put a photo up for you to see that I wasn't even trying to do this. I wasn't trying to test. I was just stuck and trying to get the car out during the winter when the weather broke a little bit. With the car sitting there for 2 or 3 weeks, I was driving my truck when the weather was really bad. The car kind of sunk into the mud a little bit, or the dirt, and when I tried to pull out, it didn't want to go. Well, the picture will show that it does spin two wheels, and my car isn't nothing special as far as the rear end. I haven't done anything to the rear end. I haven't done anything to the transmission. The only thing I've done is your basic bolt-ons to the engine. You know, I've done some exhaust work. Nothing with the rear end or the transmission. So why I'm saying that is my car's rear end is no different than yours. If you've got two axle shafts, which they all do, 2015 and up, you're going to have power to both wheels. The manufacturer isn't going to spend the money. Believe it or not, it might not sound like much money to put the other axle shaft in there, but when you're making millions of cars, it's a lot. They're not going to put that other axle shaft in there to power one wheel. You're not going to have two axle shafts to power one wheel, and there's two shafts in the differential. So basically, you know, some people still might not want to call it a limited slip. You know, I'm not here saying that it's a limited slip differential, because I guess I mentioned that in one of my videos and people were like, oh, it's not a limited slip, it's an open diff. And I was just like, well, you know, I don't claim to know everything about cars. I know a fair amount. And I was like, well, maybe it is an open diff. But I'm thinking, it's like, by the I've driven, you know, enough vehicles that had limited slip or had a locker to know how it feels, and the car feels just like a limited slip to me. I'm not saying it's limited slip, because people's gonna be like, oh no, it's open diff, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's something else. And you know, I'm just saying, to my honest opinion, I bought a 2007 Ram, brand new, and the limited slip still works today, because I know who owns it now. I don't have the truck no more. Has over 100,000 miles on it, and the car reacts the exact same way as the truck did with limited slip. Again, they might call it something else. It might not be as good as traditional limited slip, but under power, the rear end will slide out in occasions. It's done it to me. It did it to me a couple weeks ago when I wasn't expecting it. It's like, kind of when I'm getting on an on-ramp, I'll get on the car a little bit, I'll push the throttle down, and the whole back end slid about 3 feet to the side. If you don't have power to both back wheels, it won't do that. It'll just spin the one, and you won't break traction. You only break traction on the one wheel, and you'll still be going in the direction you're going. If I didn't let off the gas, I would have either been facing the other direction, or I would have did a complete 360, because the whole back of the end of the car was given out. And it'll only do that again if you break both tires loose. So, you know, again, I'm not saying it's a limited slip. Maybe, you know, maybe it's a little weaker, you know, version of a limited slip, maybe, because if you Google open diff for these cars, it'll say that it'll give more power to the wheel with least resistance. So it's not saying it's only giving power to one wheel. It's saying, keyword, more power to the wheel with least resistance. So it's saying, yes, it's giving power to both wheels, but it's giving more power to the wheel with least resistance. That's what it says if you Google it. But the traditional open diff that I think of when somebody says open diff is an open differential. On one side, it's completely open. There's no shaft over there. There's no axle shaft. There's only one. There's one axle shaft going to one wheel, and the other side's open. Hence the word open diff. That's traditional open diff for me. But you know, what people are calling these an open diff and saying they spin one wheel, they don't spin one wheel. They spin two wheels. And I'll go ahead and drop the picture in there now to show you when I was stuck and there's rubber, dirt, burned off, thrown into the snow from both wheels. So as you can see, there's definitely more spin on the driver's side than on the passenger side, but there is rubber, dirt thrown off of both tires. So she's spinning both wheels. So, I mean, I guess it's what you would consider an open diff. I don't consider an open diff a car that spins both tires. I consider an open diff a car that spins one tire, you know. And, you know, I'm not griping about, you know, if you guys, you know, put something in the comments that says, you know, that corrects me. I'm not trying to, you know, correct you or whatever. You know, like I said, I don't know everything about cars. I know enough that I could do pretty much anything that I want to do to the car without taking it to mechanic. Now, like, you know, as far as like paint and body work and stuff like that, I'm not into that kind of thing. But mechanically, I can do pretty much everything. And the things that I haven't done, I can learn pretty quick, because I like doing this kind of stuff, you know. So, you know, as far as like rebuilding the engine, I could do that. I've done it before. Not completely the whole engine by myself, but I've been in there doing the work. I've replaced engines, I've replaced transmissions myself. You know, I could, as far as rebuilding the rear end, I've never done that, but I'm sure I could do it. Never rebuilt the transmission, but I've replaced plenty, you know. I do my own brakes and maintenance, and you know, pretty much anything that I need to change on the car, I do it myself, if at all possible. If it's something that I need to lift in a welder or a cutting torch or something, you know, that I might have to take it somewhere. I don't have a garage or anything, but you know, most things, like 90% of what would ever need to do to the car, I could do myself. And the other 10% I could learn, or if I had a shop, I could do it. You know, it's a lot of things that I know how to do, I learned doing them. I just took it apart and figured out how to do it. But you know, like I said, I don't claim to know everything. I guess I mentioned in a video that the car had limited slip, and like I said, I was going by the way the car drives, the way the car feels. You know, I've had limited slip differential vehicles before, and I know how they operate. You know, basically in a limited slip, you got a clutch that works both that engages both tires, and one tire will spin so fast, and then it'll kick the other tire in, and then it'll spin, and then it'll alternate power back and forth and slip, or it might try to spin them both at the same rate, but it's not going to spin both tires as efficiently as if you had a locker, which is going to lock both tires in, almost like posi traction. If you have full posi, it's always in. With full posi, it's always in. You're going to be spinning both tires at the same rate of speed all the time. With a locker, it'll spin so far before it kicks the other side in, and then they'll both be spinning at the same rate until, you know, you let off the throttle enough to where it'll kick back into one wheel, but it'll stay locked, as the name says, a locker, in full posi as you're into the throttle. With a limited slip, it's a limited slip, so it tries to, it basically engages both wheels, but there's some slippage, which, you know, one wheel might be getting more power than the other one, like you kind of, like it looks like in the picture, right? So I mean, I'm not saying it's a limited slip. A lot of people like to call it an open diff, but a traditional open diff will only spin one tire, no matter what you do, unless you take the differential apart, add another axle shaft, and enable it to be posi traction, limited slip, locker, something like that. Otherwise, it's always going to spin one tire. That's why it's an open diff. It's open on one side. That's it. That's, you know, but nowadays people are calling cars that spin both wheels open diff, apparently. But you know, to me, what would I say if I had to pick between an open differential that obviously only spins one tire or a limited slip that spins both? I would say this car reacts a lot more like a limited slip, and if I had to pick between the two, I'd say it was a limited slip. And I guess that's why, you know, I never really researched it or tried to crawl into the car and inspect the rear end, but just by the way it drives, I could tell it acted like a limited slip. So really the reason for the video is just to let people know that if you think, you know, if somebody's trying to tell you that your Challenger or your Charger, at least 2015 and up, they're probably all like this. If they're trying to tell you that it only spins one wheel, well, I can assure you it spins both wheels. Yeah, it spins both tires. No question about it. It spins two tires. And if it didn't, you would have a hard time pulling this car out without spinning that one wheel like crazy. If it just spun one wheel, it would be really hard to launch the car. It's only got 245s on it. Now, they are 20-inch wheels, so, you know, it takes a little bit of the power out, but 300 plus horsepower from the factory in the V6 is plenty enough power to spin over one wheel like crazy. And, you know, they even say that the RTs have, some of the RTs have open diffs, and that's, you know, that's 410 pound-feet of torque. They're not putting out 410 pound-feet of torque to one tire. They wouldn't even be able to move. The car would just sit there and smoke that one tire like crazy. No. They're spinning both tires from the factory. Now, you know, you can make the argument that they're not spinning both tires at the same rate, but you can't say that they're not spinning both tires, you know. So I just wanted to let people know that these cars are definitely spinning both tires. These are not one-wheel wonders. You know, I don't think they even make those kind of open diffs no more. You know, they might call this open diff. I'm not saying it's an open diff or saying it's a limited slip. I'm saying it operates a lot like a limited slip differential. It might not be putting out 50% power to each wheel. It might be like a 70-30, but it's, you know, and it might alternate between sides. I don't know, but it's definitely putting out power to both wheels, as seen in the picture. Again, I didn't even like plan to do that test, but it's a pretty easy test to do. Get the car stuck and see if it's spinning both tires, and you know, so like I said, I know how a limited slip operates. I know how a locker operates. I know how full posi operates. And again, to go over them again, the full posi is going to be spinning both tires all the time, and they don't really make those vehicles anymore because you know, it's just turning can be a problem, and if you get on the gas, it's gonna, and if it's got enough power, it's gonna sling you around the ring all the time, because it's always gonna be busting both tires loose if it's got a lot of power. Locker is gonna spin one until, if you give it enough gas, it's gonna know that you really wanna go. It'll lock the other side in. It might have to spin one revolution on the, I think is what it is, on the one tire, and then it'll lock the other side in. And it's fully unlocked until you let off, and it's going to lock both tires in, and you're going to have full posi until it disengages. With limited slip, it's a clutch inside of there, so it's going to try to make both tires go at the same rate, but it might be slipping more on one to the other. You might have a 70-30 split in power, you know. You know, there are clutches inside of there, so it might be able to do 50-50, and then it might, you know, it might be able to do like a 70-30 or an 80-20, or, you know, it depends on the terrain probably, but limited slip is gonna be limited slip, just like it says. So it's clutch, so it can slip. If you want to make sure that both wheels are spinning at the same rate, you need a locker or a full posi. Otherwise, you know, you could have some slippage there. But limited slip is what most people go for, I think, nowadays. Works pretty good. Those are the different types that I know of, you know. And if it's spinning both tires, it's not a one-wheel car. So, you know, I don't know why you would even try to say it is if it's, you know, if it's not. If it's got an axle shaft going to both tires, then it's obviously spinning both tires. It's obviously getting power to both tires. The manufacturer would never, they would never do that. They would never put the other, why would you put the other shaft in if you're only going to spin one tire? Wouldn't make any sense, right? Yeah. Yep. So I just wanted to get, you know, that out there so people know that, you know, that these cars aren't just spinning one wheel, you know. That's just crazy to think that, because like when somebody said it, I was like, well, you know, like that doesn't make any sense that it would only spin one tire. You probably wouldn't even be able to drive if it only had power to one tire. You'd just be spinning all the time. Yeah, makes a lot more sense that it spins two, doesn't it? Especially with the RT that has over 400 pound-feet of torque. I don't know how you'd get the car to move if it was only spinning one tire. So people out there that are, you know, telling you your car has an open differential, you know, realize that it's not the open differential, the traditional open differential that you would think of, that, you know, only spins one wheel, because they obviously spin two. But that's it for this video. Like I said, I have many videos planned for this year, and I will definitely be making more videos. And until next time, Mopar Dad 84 out. Thanks for watching.